Kasukuwere saying, Zimbabwe, welcome to our channel, Zim Confessions and Deep Secrets. Kanakariki kutamkako kuyapa neno channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. Don't forget to comment and share this video. Nasi Zimbabwe, tabigirai, nyabuditswa na save Kasukuwere uyabuda, accuser Christopher Mutsvangwa, shinzi, he's holding my road shows ku South Africa and Europe and US, Zimbabwe, since he is raising funds for his own campaign and he is ready to take down President Emmerson Mnangagwa, since he is angry with Mnangagwa kamutorera the Manize deal Zimbabwe. So he is trying to topple Mnangagwa, but since he returned from US last week, ukwacha gamari ikutawanikwe achibisa Mnangagwa pachigaro. Save Kasukuwere Rabuda achitaura iye achiti Chris should not try to be smart. He has been holding road shows in SA, Europe and the US, being his last stop, raising funds for his own campaign war chest. He returned from the US last week. Chris forgets that he is angry with ED, whom he accuses of grabbing Manize from him. So Abuda chitaurwa na Savior Kasukuwere Zimbabwe accuse Christopher Mutsvangwa. Kasukuwere akabuditsa nyaya yemushire mekunge the spokesperson ZANU PF va Christopher Mutsvangwa vakanga vabuda vachimuaccuser of plotting to remove Emmerson Mnangagwa from power. Company and article yakabuditswa near the Standard yangekanzi ZANU PF structures started the campaign to have President Emmerson Mnangagwa hanging on to power after they uncovered a plot to force him to name his successor before his term ends in 2028. Mnangagwa's loyalists have been pushing for him to rule until 2030, which will mean that the country's constitution is amended to remove presidential term limits for the second time in as many months. The 81-year-old ZANU PF leader was last week forced to publicly state that he will not run for a third term. Mutsvangwa told the Standard in an interview that there were attempts to subvert the party constitutions and coerce Mnangagwa into naming his successor before the right time. He claimed that the plot involved exiled former ministers Save Kasukuwere and Walter Muzembe. Kasukuwere and Muzembe have reportedly distanced themselves from the raging ZANU PF succession wars. Mutsvangwa said the ZANU PF youths had taken a hardline stance on Mnangagwa's succession because they were agitated by the alleged unconstitutional maneuvers. The youth are just agitated, Mutsvangwa said. They are defending their leader. Some people are trying to force themselves upon the president. There are some outside attempts to push back the calendar of succession, so it's an apparent attack on the president's authority. So they are now rallying behind the president. But the agenda is coming from outside the party, and the youth are aware that they can't keep quiet when some people are attempting to subvert the constitution. So they are defending both the party and its leader. He said there were plans to impose a new party leader before the expiry Mnangagwa's term. Some people want to force the president the president to anoint his successor. Mutsvangwa said there is a party constitution and clear processes, but the youth are questioning why the rush when we are still far from 2028. Why is there an attempt to push back 2028 to 2024? So the youth want to protect the integrity of the party processes. Mutsvangwa had earlier in the week railed against South African opposition leader Julius Malema for speaking about Mnangagwa's succession. Speaking at a public lecture, Malema said President Constantino Chiwenga, whom many considered to be Mnangagwa's successor, he had been weakened. When Malemas start talking of succession and they are not members of the party and they are not Zimbabweans, it creates anxiety for these youths and they develop a defensive attitude and they go for strong leadership. That's why they are saying, President, hang on to power because we want to safeguard the wins which you are scoring right now, Mutsvangwa said. You are scoring wins, we see more coming. It's a democratic wish on the part of the youth. They are free to express their wishes just like the Women's League. Just like the Women's League and War Veterans. You cannot say they must be stopped from expressing their intentions, but at the same time pushing back those who want to become dictators of who should be the rulers of Zimbabwe and who should not. So they are appealing to the party leadership to close ranks so that none is found vulnerable to these directed calls from outside parties. Chiwenga is one of the few ZANU PF leaders that have not been seen chanting the ED 2030 slogan in public, and it claims that he does not support the idea. Ndo zvakabudidzwa neDstandard zvakonzeresa kuti Kasukuwere azowanikwa achiexposa Christopher Mutsvangwa. Zvakare uta muzembe akabuda mushure mekunge accuswawo naMutsvangwa achitaura iye achiti Christopher Mutsvangwa haana kubvira amborwa hondo muri Zimbabwe. He was a thief during the liberation struggle, akanyepera kurwara nguva yese yehondo zvichinzi haana pfuti yaakabata, and mukadzi wake is the one akarwa hondo. Tigazwe kunoona sei nyaya yetudzewo zvamuri kufunga pamusoro penyaya iyi mucomment section.
Of the diplomatic event which is coming next week, which is the SADC Heads of States meeting. I want to hail first the President for fighting to make sure that what is the norm in SADC is respected, which is the rotation of the chairmanship without chastising a member state. All of you are aware, or you need to be aware that since our historic land reform, there have been concerted efforts by post-imperial interests in the region and their supporters in the West to try to have Zimbabwe be put under the kosher by SADC. We went through a difficult period where the SADC tribunal was tried to be used to reverse the land reform in Zimbabwe. And it went so far as concerted efforts to make sure that Zimbabwe is ostracized from SADC, because we had charted a Pan-Africanist path about Zimbabwe's future development for the benefit of the majority of the African population of Zimbabwe, in order to fulfill the goals and tenets of our national liberation movement struggle in the 1970s. So when we recovered our land, there was umbrage, there was gnashing of teeth, faced by the settler colonial minority outposts in Southern Africa who were dispossessed. Then they teamed up with the metropolitan powers of their original countries of origin, which is Brussels, Paris, London, and of course Washington, the superpower, which also has got a European origin. It is a matter even which came to a high point during the Operation Restore Legacy. You may remember that the improvised foreign minister, Muzembe, tried to call for a SADC ministerial summit to condemn the people of Zimbabwe who have gone into the streets in support of their army in order to stop in the tracks the dynastic tendencies which had taken over towards the end of the First Republic. So I'm highlighting instances over a period of 2 decades where SADC there have been attempts to abuse